Good morning. We are moving on to 11.3, measures of variation. Now, we're moving into words that are pretty out of our kind of comfort zone at this point. You've probably never heard of these words before. Actually, range, yes. But we're moving also into a form of displaying data that is very different than what we're used to. So think about displaying data. We can use a bar graph, we can use a line graph, we can use, a different, just visual chart, a pictograph, we can use a circle graph. However, now we're moving into this thing, and we're not there yet, not in 11.3, but we're moving into it, and it's called a box and whisker plot. So that's where we're headed, and in order to get there, we need to understand these three vocab terms. So the first one is quartiles, values that divide the data set into 4 equal parts. Think quarter, right? Quarter of a game, there are 4. 4 quarters make $1. I'm just going to go through these, and then we'll talk about each of them kind of as we go through the examples. Then there's the interquartile range, which is the distance, and you find the distance by finding the difference between the first and the third quartiles, which again, we'll get there. And then just in general, understanding and reminding ourselves that the word range means the difference between the greatest and least data values. Now, I'll tell you in terms of the amount of math involved in doing this, it's very simple. We don't need a calculator, really. I guess for the larger numbers, just to subtract to make our lives easier, sure, that's fine. But there's really nothing major involved. The only thing that you have to be comfortable with is median. In order to find the median, you have to order all of your numbers in your data set in order from least to greatest. If you don't do that, everything else will be messed up. So that's our first step. Now, in your homework, measures of variation, it's going to say find the measures of variation. So there are 5 things that you'll be looking for. It'll say find the quartile 1. When you think quartile 1, it's called Q1, or that's a shortened version. Then you're finding the median in quartile 3, which again, I'll explain quartile 1 and quartile 3 in just a second. Then you'll find the range, and the range is the greatest minus the smallest, which we should be familiar with at this point. You did that last year in 5th grade. And then IQR, that's the interquartile range. So you're going to be finding these 3 things for each question. So you'll actually find the median first. Then you'll use that to help you find quartile 3 and then quartile 1. And that'll give you enough information to find the interquartile range, because to find the interquartile range, you just subtract quartile 3 minus quartile 1, and then you'll find the range. So there are 5 things that you're going to end up finding. And actually, sometimes they don't even ask for range. Okay. So we're going to find all 5 of those things using this data set. Now, I've already ordered all of these numbers from least to greatest. Go ahead and write all of them down. And make sure you count how many numbers there are, so that when you write them all down, count how many numbers you wrote. And if you're missing one, then go back and figure out which one you're missing. But the first step, so I'm going to write step 1, is to find the median. Now remember, the median is, I'll use pink. We just cross out right, left, all the way to the center. Right, left, right, left. Oh, sorry, stripes. Right, left, right, left, right, left. Okay, now we end with 2 numbers, right? And when we do that, we circle them. We bring them down. We do 3 plus 4 divided by 2. 3 plus 4, right? 7 divided by 2. And I'm showing you it like this because this is exactly how I'll show it to you in your homework. 7 divided by 2 is 3.5. And I guess if you needed your calculator for that, that's fine, but you should know 7 divided by 2. All right, so 3.5 is our median. This is not new. Now let's talk about quartile 1 and quartile 3. I usually just find quartile 3 first because that's a habit, but it doesn't matter which one you find first. I just like green. Quartile 3 is just finding the median of the upper half. Uh-oh. My pen. Oh. Uh-oh. Okay, there we go. Okay, it's finding the median of the upper half of data. So the upper half is everything that I've already crossed out on the right. However, this is super duper important. I also have to take into account that 4. Because I circled those two numbers, neither of those two numbers were actually the median. So I get to use 4 and up when I find the median of the upper half. So now I'm going to use this green and I'm going to find the median from 4 all the way up to 8. So left, right, left, right. And notice I'm using a different color. Left, right. Now I've got 2 numbers here, so that's fine. I treat it just like I would the other median. So 6 and 7, so I do 6 plus 7 divided by 2. So 13 divided by 2. 13 divided by 2 is, 6.5. 6.5 is my quartile 3. And it's a weird, name, quartile 3, but it's because here, I'm just going to explain this really quick. This is like a quarter of our data. This is a quarter of our data. When we find quartile 1, we'll have a quarter of our data. And eventually, all 4 of those will add up together. Alrighty, so let's find quartile, let's use this pink, I guess. Quartile 1. Now, 3 was not part of my median, so I get to use this lower half. I'm finding the lower median. So quartile 1 is median, I guess we'll use the same words, median of lower half. Alrighty, so right, left, right, left, right, left. Now I've got the 1 and 2, I treat it the same way. 1 plus 2 divided by 2, 3 divided by 2, which is 1.5. And that's our quartile 1. So right now, we've just separated our data into 4 sections. So this is quartile 1, quartile 2, quartile 3, quartile 4. That's why those words quartile are used, right? So we found quartile 1, the median, and quartile 3. Again, it's just the median of the upper half and the lower half. Now, to find the interquartile range, we just have to subtract. Let's use a dark green. We've got to use quartile 3, so IQR, which is interquartile range. Do quartile 3 minus quartile 1. Quartile 3 is 6.5 minus 1.5, which is 4, right? So if you have whole numbers, which you might, it'll be quicker and easier to find your it'll be easier to find, or not whole numbers, if you have an even or an odd number. So right now we have an even number of numbers. So when we found the median and then the upper median and the lower median, we had to circle two of them and divide by 2. But if you have an odd number, you won't have to circle them and you'll just find that single number, which we'll use in our example that we move forward into. You know what? This way. Alrighty. So, example 1. Let's go ahead and move into that. Find the measures of variation for the data. So I need to use quartile 1, median, quartile 3, and interquartile range. But first, I need to order them from least to greatest. So least is the 1, 8, 25, 30, 50, and 70. Okay, so first step is to find the median. So right, left, right, left. Okay, so I've got to find them. I've got to do both of these and divide by 2. So 25 plus 30 by 2. So 55. Right, yep. Divided by 2. And if you need to use a calculator, go ahead and do so. 55 divided by 2 is 27.5. So that's our median. Now, to find our upper median, which is really that quartile 3, since 30 wasn't actually my median, I get to use that for my upper median. So, left, right. So that turns out my upper median is 50. So that's my quartile 3. Now I get to use my 25 for my lower median. So right, left, which means 8 is my quartile 1. So it's very quick when it's numbers like this and you don't have to add and then divide by 2. Now my interquartile range, which is quartile 3, so 50, minus quartile 1, 8. So we get 42. Quick and simple, that's all you need to do. Let's talk about an outlier. You really won't deal much with outliers in your homework, but if you are looking at a data set and one of the numbers is super big or super small compared to the rest of the numbers, that is considered an outlier. Alrighty, example 2, and this is our last example. Find the measures of variation. So first step, we need to order them from least to greatest. So I believe our least is 65. Yep, 65, 67, 72, 78, 80, 84, 87, 92, and 100. Okay, so find our median. Right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left. Quick and easy. 80 is our median. Perfect. Now, because we used 80 and that was our actual median, we don't get to use it when we're finding our upper quartile and our lower quartile. Alrighty. So, right, left. So we're left with these two, so we circle them. We add them together. 87 plus 92 divided by 2. I'm going to use my calculator. 87 plus 92 is 179. Divided by 2 is 89.5. And that is our quartile 3. Alrighty, so to find our lower, our quartile 1, right, left, we've got to circle these two. 67 plus 72 divided by 2. So 67 plus 72 is 139. divided by 2 is 69.5. That's our quartile 1. So we've got our quartile 1, our median, our quartile 3. Now we just need our inner quartile range. Oops. And that is just our quartile 3, which is 89.5, minus our quartile 1, which is 69.5. 89.5 minus 69.5 is 20. So our inner quartile range is 20. We found all of our measures of variation. Oh, the one thing we didn't find was range. So and sometimes it asks, sometimes it doesn't. So range would be just our highest minus our lowest. And it on your homework, I believe only one question actually asks us anything about the range, so just keep that in mind. We also didn't find the range up here, but that's okay. So 100 minus 65, we've got 35, and that would be the only thing extra that it would ask for. Alrighty, let me know if you have any questions. Your homework, really, it's not super complicated, but it takes a second because you've got to order everything from least to greatest. Alrighty, have an awesome day.